You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, Kansans want Medicaid to expand due to lack of coverage.
Number one, the thunderstorms are here. Number two, on top of the heavy rain, check out the lightning. We're going to have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
So the Boston Marathon is back, but at an unusual time of year. All that and more coming up.
News starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Prosecutors file assault charges against a man who allegedly stabbed the mother of his child at the Mercy Hospital Surgery Center in Springfield. Charles Turner is in jail charged with first-degree domestic assault. The stabbing happened Friday in a stairwell at the Mercy Surgery Center. The victim worked in the ministry of the hospital. Police say she is in stable condition. Investigators say Turner was upset he could not visit his daughter after he and the victim broke up. A federal judge has permanently blocked Missouri from enforcing a requirement that medical marijuana licenses go only to businesses owned by Missourians. When Missourians voted to legalize medical marijuana in 2018, it came with the rule that only those who have been citizens of Missouri for at least a year can be majority owners. A federal judge ruled in June that the provision was unconstitutional, and now the judge has made the injunction permanent. Some Kansans are struggling to get affordable health coverage because they fall into what's called the coverage gap. This happens to people who make too much to be on Medicaid, but not enough to get marketplace insurance. Disabled man in Parsons says it's happening to him, and that's why he and his adopted mother are speaking out to encourage Kansas legislators to expand Medicaid in the state.
He is in a vicious circle. There is medication out there that could help him, but he has to be on Medicaid or something, a medicine or a medical card of some kind to help him pay for it, because when we priced it, it was over $1,000 a month.
According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, 90,000 uninsured Kansans would be eligible for Medicaid if the state expanded eligibility. Expansion opponents worry about potential cost. Some Carterville residents have an issue with the city's handling of its water system, and last night they showed up to make their voices heard. Residents are calling on the city to bring in Missouri American Water to take over. The mayor says they have not been approached with an offer from Missouri American Water. Nothing was decided at last night's meeting. The next Carterville City Council meeting is scheduled for November 15th. A new soybean processing plant will bring jobs to southeast Kansas and expand markets for area soybean producers. Montgomery County, Kansas commissioners approved industrial revenue bonds for a company planning a more than $300 million soybean crushing plant in the county. The Bartlett Company plans to begin construction of its plant early next year and have it up and running in 2024. The company says it'll process about 110,000 bushels of soybeans per day and create about 50 permanent jobs. Promoters say it will also benefit the area agriculture and rail industries. The Longwell Museum at Crowder College in Neosho is displaying pieces from its permanent collection. It's called the Museum Vault Exhibit. The museum is showing artwork it owns rather than pieces borrowed from artists for exhibits. The museum is free and open to the public Monday through Friday.
We call our collection, our private collection, the vault. And what that is basically where we store our most prized artworks that we have in our collection. And really what we're trying to highlight is, the substantial art history that is connected to Crowder College and the Longwells themselves.
Crowder College recommends everyone wear masks on its campus, but masks are not required. Need an excuse to satisfy your sweet tooth before Halloween? Well, now you have one. Wednesday is National M&M's Day, and you can celebrate the day by simply enjoying the candy or with an M&M inspired bake sale or party, offering such goodies as M&M brownies, cookies, and cupcakes. You can post your creations to the social media hashtag National MM Day. Some fun facts. You gotta have fun facts. Production of the candy began in 1941 at a New Jersey factory. The slogan, "Melts in your mouth, not in your hands," was created in 1949. And they're easy to eat in space. In fact, they're reportedly the most eaten chocolate by astronauts while in space.
Do we know why that is?
I wonder if there's some kind of sponsorship going on there.
Maybe size-wise, easier to I did
Why
not know that.
Why
and
not
I-
a Skittle over an M&M?
I was just curious why. All right, Tanya, let's jump to it. We got a busy morning on our hands here. Look at this line of thunderstorms. It has moved in from the west overnight, 50 mile an hour winds, or 60 mile an hour winds, excuse me. That's why you see those storm report icons out by Wichita. It has not let up one bit as far as the intensity of our rain. We're coming down anywhere from 2 3/4 inches an hour. There's 1.3 inches, easily just piling on to what we had on Monday. I'm going to throw the lightning tracker on here and we'll get a great idea of the cloud to ground lightning that we're experiencing along with it on that leading edge. That's just the last 5 minutes. If we back this up and say, oh, you know, what's it done in the last 15 minutes? Look at that. How expansive is that? So number one, I need everybody to be very, very careful around metal structures. And number two, also know that we are experiencing localized flooding. Along with that, well, I've got one report that's come in. We'll have a multitude of reports here before it's all said and done. But in Elk City in Montgomery County, also experienced pea-sized hail. Now, that was probably about 23 minutes ago when this initial line rolled through. So what we can also do is give you an idea, for those of you still awaiting it and know that it's on your way, we can kind of give you a guesstimated time. I'm going to take this from the very leading edge of these bands and say it's working about 45, 50 miles an hour off to the east right there. So we're looking around the 8 o'clock hour for it to approach the state line of Kansas and Missouri. Drop down here to northeast Oklahoma, of course, that's going to be a little bit ahead of time because you can tell down to the south, that's kind of bubbled out right there on that eastern portion. And so that's moving just a little bit faster. And now let's make another cone, take care of everybody up to the north. And there it is. Like I said, that state line timeline is just about the same for everybody. And like the rain has not let up the intensity. We were really hoping it would. And I know that's of no solace to everybody out in southeast Kansas, but I was hoping it would kind of give up the ghost here as it got into the central and parts of southwest Missouri, but that is not happening right now. We also have sustained double-digit winds. These are not gusts. These are sustained winds, so it still can gust 45, 50 miles per hour as it blows in from the south around 20 miles per hour. Now, another thing that's done is provided us with abnormally warm October morning. I mean, look at this. A whole bunch of 75s on the board in the middle of October. But look out to the left-hand side. Once the storm rolls through, it will drop about 10 degrees on you before we rebound back into the 70s. Here's an idea of what Future Track has in store. This thing's going to last really until the early afternoon hours as it works into southwest Missouri and eventually over the Ozarks. And while the rain does get a little bit better, it still holds on until about 1, 2 o'clock this afternoon. After that, we've got some Wednesday night showers that are going to take us into Thursday. We're just not going to anticipate the thunderstorms like we have this morning.
All right. Well, yeah, it sounds like it's going to, when it gets here to us here at the station, it's going to be here for a while. Moving along. Well, up next, some vaccine skeptics of the COVID vaccine finally get the shot. And later, people come out of the woodwork to help a crashed school bus. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Despite the Texas governor taking steps to prevent vaccine mandates, one group in Texas is trying to win over vaccine skeptics. And as Miguel Marquez reports, they are succeeding.
Zeferino Cantu considered getting vaccinated for months. Finally, he's taking the plunge. Now, more worried about the virus than vaccine side effects.
Y como que me dan borrachera, me enderezo.
The coronavirus is more dangerous, he says, because it can affect everything, even your mental capacity.
Me pongo a almorzar.
The 63-year-old retired laborer is diabetic, has high blood pressure, and no health insurance. Getting the shot in his arm, not easy.
He would always tell me, I'll be back. I'll come back. I'm not ready.
And this was over how long?
I guess I talked to him about 3-4 months ago.
A familiar problem here at McAllen's El Milagro Clinic, vaccinating those needing it most. HHS estimates about half the unvaccinated are willing to get it, like 55-year-old horse race trainer Juan Manuel Salinas.
Para a ver qué reacciona bien.
I wanted to see the reaction of other people before I got it, he says. If they were okay, then I'd do it too. He was tough to convince, and his daughter works at the clinic.
He had all the resources, and I was like, do you need me to go pick you up? We do it for free here at the clinic. He's like, yeah, I'll go. So
And they never did.
Never did.
Her long effort finally paying off, and hope for more success ahead. El Milagro Clinic is now getting help from Project Finish Line.
What we hope to achieve is to get vaccine access to those that may be on the fence. I call them the unvaccinated but willing.
Project Finish Line now working with free and charitable clinics like Milagro in 16 states, providing money for pop-up vaccinations in rural places like Muniz, Texas. Phone lines for community outreach, even helping organize free rides provided by Uber.
We hear individuals who take the bus to and from work every day, and they cannot take a day off from work, and so they really need help with actually that transportation barrier.
He says transportation, translation, and a trusted source of vaccine information are the biggest barriers. Above all, persistence and lots of patience for those on the front line.
It gets to the point that staff thinks that they're sounding like a broken record. They will come around. There's a lot of people that are willing and just don't have the tools, the information, and the resources.
Harris County, Texas Attorney Christian Menifee on Tuesday called Governor Abbott's executive order barring COVID vaccine mandates, quote, shameful. He also encouraged Texas business owners to sue the governor. The stars of the Halloween movie Halloween Kills turned out for the film's debut, and some of them even showed up in costume. Jamie Lee Curtis dressed as her mother, Psycho star Janet Leigh, and Judy Greer dressed in an Annie Hall costume. Halloween Kills marks the 11th film in the horror franchise, and you guessed it, Halloween Ends comes out in 2022. The only Halloween movie not usually included in the list of the franchise titles is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. It is the only Halloween movie to not feature Michael Myers as the undying antagonist.
Did a little inside the storm work here. We're slowing down. No, we want to hurry. We want to get out of here.
Too bad it's not slowing down in intensity.
So what we'll do is we'll readjust our cones and our time arrival here, and you can tell where I put it on the leading edge of everything. But right now we've slowed down to about 30 miles per hour, and so I'm not taking this from the midst of the heavy rain. This is on that leading edge. So there we go. A little after 8 o'clock into Newton and McDonald County. You know, the central portion. So looking about, say about 8 o'clock there around Pittsburgh. Not sure how I jumped right through Joplin right there. Yeah, 8 o'clock. So we're still looking at 8 o'clock for that leading edge to hit the state line, work its way. About 8:20 then for Nevada. Of course, you got to go down Highway 54 after you get across the state line to get to Nevada. So it really didn't change our time frames too much. But just want everybody to be apprised. And like I say, the important factor of this thing slowing down, albeit it's only about 5 to 10 miles per hour, that makes a huge difference. When we talk about the amount of rain that we picked up, don't forget Elk City also reporting pea-sized hail this morning. So that is what that is capable of. Storm reports from earlier this morning with the 60-mile-an-hour winds coming out of the Wichita area. There's the lightning tracker. One thing that we're noticing as far as the lightning goes, and I'll kind of take it on and off here just to give you a visual indicator. We're seeing it begin to get on this leading bubble that's now working its way through Cherokee County and Ottawa County down through Delaware County as well. It was kind of confined to the main band, but now as we begin to slow down and bubble out a little bit, you notice the lightning strikes getting in to Ottawa County as it works its way through northeast Oklahoma. Here's our rain totals. This is since midnight alone. Back it up. We'll take it back into last night. Let's go about 12 hours right there. And so remember, we've got to factor that in to what we had on Monday as well. We do not have any flood warnings, watches, or advisories. We do have the localized flooding, however, that is taking place. And creeks and streams, just plan on it, changing your morning commute right now. That way I got everybody on the safe side. Stay on our toes. We'll be fine. We'll get through this. And then get ready for some additional showers tonight. Certainly nothing like what we're having this morning, and certainly nothing like what we had Monday. We'll be back right after this. For the first time, the running of the Boston Marathon taking place in the fall, with many of Monday's runners saying they were happy for an in-person run after waiting 2.5 years. Question posed to some runners which month they preferred to race in, October or April.
The Boston Marathon had a more vibrant look this year.
Oh, it's so exciting.
For the first time ever, the 125th running happened in the fall.
The leaves were pretty.
But the fall running,
The last thing they want to do is try to crack open a water bottle.
Still felt like the same old race.
So everybody was here, and the vibe from getting on the buses all the way to this finish line was electric. So, much respect to health protocols, but runners were out here having a good time.
The COVID pandemic changed many of the rules, including fewer runners, rolling starts, and a big push for spectators to spread out. But people felt for the first time some promising progress.
It felt like a recovery for everybody, like we're coming back to normal.
It's really good to be out with people.
What does Kate think of this?
She loves it, yay! And she's cheering for her dad.
Nice.
We have her dad as her hero.
Oh,
yay!
nice.
From no marathons for more than 2 years to 2 within 6 months, most runners say April is where this race belongs. What's the verdict, October or April?
I think you got to go back to April. It's I'm a traditional guy.
April? But today was still great.
I must admit I enjoy something different, but at the same time, Boston Marathon is Patriots Day, it's special. It's a rite of passage for the spring, and we love that about the race itself.
Race is set to go back to its regularly scheduled April spot next year. We'll be right back with more KOM Morning News on Fox 14 with this morning's 4-state hero.
It's time to honor today's 4-state hero. Wayne No served in the U.S. Marines from 1973 to 1977. A native of Girard, Kansas, No was stationed in Vietnam. We are proud to thank Sergeant Wayne No, our 4-state hero. A school bus carrying several students in Plastow, New Hampshire crashes into the woods. The story could have quickly turned into a tragedy if not for the help of some good Samaritans.
I heard that big bang.
Just before the bus landed in a ditch in the woods off Greenough Road.
When she passed me, she was slumped over the wheel.
The driver nearly hit Stephanie Geary and Gina Lynch, who were in cars traveling the opposite direction.
Missed me by millimeters, came onto our side of the road, and pretty much went airborne. It was like something like you see in the movies.
A movie, definitely a movie. And it was going really fast. At first, I thought she lost her brakes.
The women pulled over, ran into the ditch, and opened the back door to the tilting bus to find 6 frightened children.
It was screaming. They were in shock. Screaming. They didn't want to move it first.
They, along with another man, worked together to get the children, who are in grades kindergarten through 3rd, off the bus.
And we got one by one, and then we got them up the hill. One girl I had to carry because her leg was hurting.
Yep.
Other than that, I kind of dragged them up the hill the best I could.
Others who live in the nearby neighborhood rushed to help.
They talked to me about their day at school, and they were a little afraid, kind of like it was a very scary thing for them to go through.
The driver was taken to the hospital. Geary and Lynch say their maternal instincts took over.
We just became mama bears.
Mama bears. Yeah, I think your motherly instinct just kicked
Mama
in.
bears just kicked in. You hear screaming kids, nothing can stop us.
Wow. Well, another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, millions of Americans quit their jobs. And Michael Myers stalks back into theaters just in time for Halloween. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
State's most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:28. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Prosecutors file assault charges against a man who allegedly stabbed the mother of his child at the Mercy Hospital Surgery Center in Springfield. Charles Turner is in jail charged with first-degree domestic assault. The stabbing happened Friday in a stairwell at the Mercy Surgery Center. The victim worked in the ministry of the hospital. Police say she is in stable condition. Investigators say Turner was upset he could not visit his daughter after he and the victim broke up. Federal judge has permanently blocked Missouri from enforcing a requirement that medical marijuana licenses go only to businesses owned by Missourians. When Missourians voted to legalize medical marijuana in 2018, it came with the rule that only those who have been citizens of Missouri for at least a year can be majority owners. Federal judge ruled in June that the provision was unconstitutional. Now the judge has made the injunction permanent. Missouri recently began its Medicaid expansion. Those still needing coverage in nearby states like Kansas are looking to close the coverage gap. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with a Parsons family who's struggling to find coverage and a policy expert who explains what closing this gap could mean for uninsured Kansans.
Michael Priesmeyer has multiple disabilities such as severe ADHD and low IQ. Despite this, he doesn't qualify for Social Security disability insurance, ADA, or Kansas Medicaid, leaving him without coverage.
It's like a slap in the face. You know, it's just been, you know, it's not been a very good experience.
But then we can't get the medicine because we can't get a medical card. We can't get a medical card because he doesn't qualify for either Social Security disability then he doesn't qualify for the ADA.
Now, he and his adopted mother are speaking out to ask Kansas legislators to expand Medicaid.
There's more people than just Michael out there in this vicious circle.
This circle is something senior policy analyst at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities says is known as the coverage gap.
So people in the coverage gap, they're making too much money to get Medicaid, but also not enough money to go onto healthcare.gov, the marketplace option. They're not able to get subsidies on the marketplace because as originally envisioned through the Affordable Care Act, people were going to be getting Medicaid coverage. But again, those states that decided not to expand Medicaid don't have that option. Kansas is now one of 12 states.
Right now, state GOP lawmakers are opposed to the expansion due to the price, and there is no current action being taken to expand. But in neighboring states like Missouri, Medicaid expansion has already started, which is why Michael and Vicky say they're speaking out to demand action in Kansas.
It's hard enough for me to deal with this stuff without medication, so I know the feeling now because I'm going through it. I just don't want someone like me going through the same thing.
In Parsons, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
According to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, nearly a quarter of non-elderly adult Medicaid enrollees had a disability and still did not qualify for Medicaid through SSI. Some Carterville residents have an issue with the city's handling of its water system, and last night they showed up to make their voices heard. Residents are calling on the city to bring in Missouri American Water to take over. The mayor says they have not been approached with an offer from Missouri American Water. Nothing was decided at last night's meeting. The next Carterville City Council meeting is scheduled for November 15th. A new soybean processing plant will bring jobs to southeast Kansas and expand markets for area soybean producers. Montgomery County, Kansas commissioners have approved industrial revenue bonds for a company planning a more than $300 million soybean crushing plant in the county. The Bartlett Company plans to begin construction of its plant early next year and have it up and running in 2024. The company says it'll process about 110,000 bushels of soybeans per day and create about 50 permanent jobs. Promoters say it will also benefit the area agriculture and rail industries. Longwell Museum at Crowder College in Neosho is displaying pieces from its permanent collection. It's titled the Museum Vault Exhibit. The museum is showing artwork it owns rather than pieces borrowed from artists for exhibits. The museum is free and open to the public Monday through Friday.
We call our collection, our private collection, the vault. And what that is basically where we store our most prized artworks that we have in our collection. And really what we're trying to highlight is, the substantial art history that is connected to Crowder College and the Longwells themselves.
Crowder College recommends everyone wear masks on its campus, but masks are not required. Sometimes it's not the catch you make that defines your career, but the one you don't. Baseball Hall of Famer Larry Chipper Jones dropped a foul ball in the second inning. Game 3 between the Braves and the Brewers. Darn it. Luckily for Atlanta, Jones was in the stands and not playing third base for them at the time.
Yeah, I think he's good.
That's funny.
Hall of Famer, arguably the second greatest switch hitter to ever play baseball. And I love the fact that we just called him Larry on air. Great trivia question, I guess, if you were going to say what's Chipper Jones's real first name. All right, let's pay attention to the bubble that we've got working here on the east side of the elongated thunderstorm activity. This thing was a defining line. Now as it approaches the state line, we've already pushed showers into Newton and McDonald County, coming down over Joplin as well. And we got a couple sky cam shots we can take here. Over 7th and Rangeline, we've yet to have anything touch the ground, but you can tell how dark the skies are off to the west. That's headed toward Galena there, down 66. There we are. We're looking west outside of Television City, right past our main tower, where earlier we had a couple lightning strikes present themselves off to the west once again. We're getting light showers here at the station. Also got a report, thank you, Joe, out of Miami, where the rain is just beginning. And then as we work through Cherokee and Crawford County, it creeps up there into Barton County as well. But anybody who you're getting showers on the east side here as it crosses the state line, no, that's not the hard stuff. Here comes the hard stuff, making its way right now from Chetopa to Oswego. Parsons, you're just about done with the heaviest and can get out of that. Erie, even though you're out of the heaviest, you still got a bunch of rain on the backside of it. Iola's getting that secondary round as well. And then as it works through, hasn't got to Fort Scott yet. So Fort Scott, you're going to be up next as well. When we talk about our lightning, it has not died down one bit. That's just in the last 15 minutes alone. All those strikes kind of take it back and forth, give you an indicator of it. Now, with that being said, we do not have any watches, warnings, advisories, nothing like that. But if we do our rain total since midnight, go up just north of Chanute right there, and we're already at 2 inches. Now, this is just since midnight, and I want you to remember the rain that we had on Monday. So if we go back this week, that's why our localized flooding is a serious concern. We're looking at 4.5 inches in the western part of southeast Kansas right there. As far as future track, now that we're approaching the state line with this thing, it really doesn't want to break up until later this morning, almost early this afternoon, as it gets toward the Ozarks. So everybody's going to get a taste of rain, that is for sure. Temperatures going to stabilize. They'll drop about 10 degrees when the system rolls through and then bebop back up into the low 70s later on. Overnight showers, a possibility, but nothing like the line that we're experiencing this morning. Be back with more KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Michael Myers, the horror character, not the comedian, is back terrorizing the survivors of his previous big screen rampages. A man on the scene. Rick Damigella with the story.
Halloween Kills picks up moments after the end of 2018's Halloween.
We didn't have to make up a bunch of well, this is what I was doing for the last 5 years. It was pretty easy, actually. I was happy. I think it's a bold move.
It was like going back to camp. We had almost virtually the same crew, the same cast, and then also, camp knowing that we have some new faces coming in that we've heard about for the last 40 years.
I just feel really fortunate and blessed to be part of this franchise. And again, particularly because it's a movie that people are expecting and waiting for, which is really a lot of fun, man.
For Jamie Lee Curtis, an important sequence was challenging to film.
The scariest time I've had on a Halloween movie is when they called action and 300 people started running at me, with me in the middle of it all. And they were told, move her out of the way. If she's in your way, move her out of the way. I mean, obviously they were told, don't hurt her. I'm Laurie Strode! You sheep, it's not him! That is not something I've ever dealt with. I've never stood there and faced an onslaught of angry people racing at me. And that was intense, and it's intense in the movie. I want to take his mask off and see the life leave his eyes.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Coming on Friday to theaters, we got Bigger Fish to Fry. Here's what we've got. Popping up right now for Crawford and Cherokee County, we now have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 8:30. These are moving northeast at, say, about 40 miles per hour. Once again, severe thunderstorm warning. As we've got the pea-size hail that's already been reported. That was in Montgomery County, not one of the counties in effect right now, but we did get pea-size hail earlier. And that gives you an idea of the area that we're talking about in Cherokee and Crawford County. Once again, severe thunderstorm warning for Cherokee and Crawford County lasting until 8:30. Keep you updated and be back right after this.
The major shippers are out with their holiday deadlines. The U.S. Postal Service says ship by December 17th for first-class mail and first-class packages. You have until December 18th for priority mail. FedEx says ship by December 9th for ground economy, but you have until December 22nd for 2-day shipping. And UPS says if you want to get your gift there in time, ship by December 21st for second-day air. The Food and Drug Administration is telling some companies to stop making hand sanitizer by the end of the year. At the start of the pandemic, the FDA set temporary policies for non-drug manufacturers to produce alcohol-based hand sanitizer for the public health emergency. This week, the FDA said traditional suppliers have increased their supply, so the administration is withdrawing the temporary guidance. Companies manufacturing alcohol-based hand sanitizers under the temporary policies have to stop by December 31st. This morning, Wall Street heads in the wrong direction. Millions of Americans quit their jobs, and the FDA authorizes an electronic cigarette to be sold in the United States. Diane King Hall reports.
Wall Street lost more ground on Tuesday. The Dow dropped 117 points. The Nasdaq fell 20 and the S&P 500 lost 10. Earnings season kicks off today with the big banks reporting. JP Morgan Chase is on deck before the bell. Bank of America is due tomorrow and Goldman Sachs on Friday. 4.3 million people quit their jobs in August, according to a monthly Labor Department report. It's the highest quits rate since tracking began in the year 2000. Bars and restaurants lost the most workers at nearly 900,000. Retail, healthcare, and social assistance sectors were also hit hard. For the first time, the Food and Drug Administration authorized an electronic cigarette to be sold in the U.S. The FDA said British American Tobacco can keep selling its Vuse Solo e-cigarettes, but the authorization didn't include its flavored products. The FDA is quick to point out this does not mean the products are safe or earned an FDA approval. Rather, it says, quote, the manufacturer's data demonstrates its tobacco-flavored products could benefit addicted adult smokers who switch to these products by reducing their exposure to harmful chemicals. A decision is still pending for Juul's e-cigs.
Let's go straight to Michael Hayslip for another weather update.
Yeah, we're going to get active this morning. Here we go. Our thunderstorm warnings have now increased in location where we had the Cherokee and Crawford, but now it's pretty much all-encompass Crawford, moving up through Bourbon County in southeast Kansas and then making its way not only into Vernon County in southwest Missouri, but also the far northwestern section of Barton County as well. So anybody in the yellow right there, that is an indicator you are in a severe thunderstorm warning. Give you an idea of the radar as this progresses northeast, east-northeast. Right now we're looking at 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail. We'll be back right after this.
A wedding cake fiasco in Tennessee had a bride seeing spots through her tears. Jeannie Moose has the story of the crying cake that had newlyweds crying for a refund.
When a Nashville couple finally cut the cake at their wedding, little did most of the guests know it was
the bad cake.
A.G. Wright and her wife Juliana had sent a reference photo to the bakery.
This is what it was supposed to look like.
When AG posted the what they asked for and what they got photos on TikTok, what the bakery got was harsh. As a pastry chef, oof, that cake was a hate crime. AG cried pretend tears when she opened the box. She later described herself as
internally sobbing. It looked like mascara running down the cake. We started saying that the cake was crying.
On TikTok, somebody posted, "You get what you pay for," but they paid over $500. A friend who bakes offered to re-ice the entire cake, and it was adorned with flowers in time for the wedding. The original cake reminded AG of the Dalmatians from Cruella.
Random splotches of black.
The cake saga struck some as Right Out of the Show nailed it.
If you've ever tried to make this, but ended up with this.
It did feel like we were on that show.
Nailed it. I hope you got your money back, someone commented. AG has asked for a partial refund, but so far hasn't heard back. Still, she's sticking by her pandemic tattoo motto.
So it's LSIDC, which stands for laughing so I don't cry.
By the first dance, The cake that took the cake for falling short had become a funny story, and besides, almond with buttercream frosting.
It tasted amazing.
Even if it looked like it had gone to the dogs. Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
Maybe that cake was intended for somebody else. Who knows? Let's go to Michael with the weather update.
Tanya, severe thunderstorm warnings in effect now for southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri. Here's what we're looking at geographically. All of Cherokee County, most of Crawford County, extending north into Bourbon County, and then east across the state line into Vernon County, and then a sliver of northwestern Barton County right there. Go back, put the radar on, give you an idea about what we're looking at as this proceeds to the east-northeast, moving at about 45 to 50 miles per hour, capable of 60-mile-an-hour winds and also penny-sized hail. This is the first warning that we've had in some time associated with this elongated band of storms that's been on us ever since, say about 4 o'clock this morning. And that's how long it's taken to move through with the torrential rainfall. And on top of that, we've still got a fair amount of lightning with it as well, especially when you get on that leading band. Now that we're seeing it cross the state line into portions of southwest Missouri, the winds have let up a little bit compared to what they were when they were over central Kansas. However, the heavy rain and the lightning, it has not let up one bit. So as this continues to move through, we also have already had reports of pea-size hail coming out of Elk City in Montgomery County, Kansas. That's just to the northwest of Independence, and it's all encompassing. So as it moves to the east, even if you've been able to stay dry so far out on the eastern edge of southwest Missouri, is eventually going to get to you. And here's an idea of our rain totals. Now that's just since midnight, but we got to back up and put Monday in here as well. And when we take a look at those totals, we're easily over 4 inches where you see the orange there throughout southern southeast Kansas, especially along the state line. Our temperature is going to hang in the 70s after the storm rolls through. It'll drop about 10 degrees when the storm rolls through your neighborhood, and we'll rebound. Get back into the 70s this afternoon. Chance for showers overnight into Thursday, but more importantly, let's get through this morning one first. Please, please know that roads are already flooded as you work to the west. Be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Mexican and Canadian tourists who are vaccinated against COVID-19 will soon be allowed into the United States. The Biden administration is lifting its North American travel restrictions at the land borders between the two countries in early November. The ban has been in place since the pandemic took hold in March of 2020. Commercial traffic, returning U.S. citizens, and students have been allowed through. A Wyoming coroner rules 22-year-old Gabby Petito was strangled to death. Her body was found more than 3 weeks ago in a national forest after she did not come home from a cross-country trip with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. Police are still searching for him. The Teton County coroner says her body was outside for 3 or 4 weeks, but did not provide any other details. And former Star Trek actor William Shatner is scheduled to rocket into space for real this morning. He'll be the oldest person to head to outer space aboard Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket, a company founded by Jeff Bezos. He'll be joined by 3 other passengers. Let's check
Severe thunderstorm warnings for Cherokee, Crawford, Bourbon, and Vernon counties, and a little sliver of northwest Barton County, lasting until 8:30 this morning. And here's what we're looking at: 60-mile-an-hour winds, and we've already had reports of pea-sized hail. This is capable of about penny-sized hail. A long line of torrential rainfall, isolated flooding, already a concern, despite the fact that we don't have any flood warnings out and about. Know that everything's piling up since Monday, so that will be an issue as it progresses, making its way now across the state line. Remember, even if you're in Barton, Jasper County right there, and you're getting some of that rain, know the heavier stuff is yet to get on us. Eventually, temperature's going to rebound into the 70s, but the rain's going to linger on the eastern part of southwest Missouri here until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, a zoo in northeastern France welcomes the birth of a white baby rhinoceros. The male baby rhino, Muzzle, came to standing position just an hour and a half after he was born. There you go, boy. Soon he was feeding from his mother, Tala, eating hay and walking in the enclosure at the Amityville Zoo. Muzzle is the third offspring of 21-year-old Tala, described by the zoo as a very gentle mother, protective of Muzzle and knowing how to guide him at birth to help him discover the space around him. After successful conservation efforts, the southern white rhinos number 18,000 in protected areas around South Africa and other African countries, now classified as near threatened on the International Union for Conservation of Nature Red List. All right.
All right, we'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon. Keep you updated on all watches and warnings on the Skywatch weather app and KOAMnewsnow.com.
Have a great morning and a safe morning and an even better day.
There's casino